into diaspora bonds, which can provide the necessary capital to sustain growth initiatives in healthcare, education, and infrastructure. 4, building strong diplomatic relationships can help counterbalance the adverse effects of U.S. policies. For example, Ghana's continuous active engagement in the African Union, the United Nations, and other multilateral organizations can elevate Ghana's global standing. There is also the need to continue to forge alliances with countries that share similar development goals to facilitate collaborative efforts in addressing common challenges like climate change, debt distress, and poverty alleviation. Finally, to address security concerns exacerbated by U.S. policies, Ghana should enhance regional cooperation by collaborating with neighboring countries and regional bodies to improve intelligence sharing and ensure that we have enhanced border security. Government must also invest in human security by focusing on education, healthcare, and social services to create a stable society that is less susceptible to extremist influences. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to make this statement.
Thank you very much, Honorable Amin Adam. I will now call upon Honorable Nana Ose Adjei.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on the impact of USAID shutdown on Ghana's economy. Mr. Speaker, I am very grateful for the opportunity given me to make a brief statement on the impact of USAID shutdown on Ghana's economy. The United States Agency for International Development is primarily responsible for administering civilian foreign aid. Responding to former President Barack Obama's pledge in his 2013 State of the Nation's address to join with other allies to eradicate extreme poverty in the next 2 decades, USAID adopted its mission statement to partner to end extreme poverty and promote resilient democratic societies while advancing the security and prosperity of the United States and beyond. USAID operates in Africa, Asia, Latin America, the Middle East, and Eastern Europe. Right Honorable Speaker, permit me to list some of the interventions USAID has made in Ghana for the past years in a number of areas such as health, agriculture, education, and governance. In terms of agriculture, through its Feed the Future initiative, USAID has supported smallholder farmers, especially in northern Ghana, where poverty and more nutrition are prevalent. The program has increased food production, improved market access, and built resilience among farmers. Without this support, many will struggle to sustain their livelihoods. Beyond agriculture, USAID has made instrumental in strengthening Ghana's democracy, rights, and governance. It has played a critical role in ensuring free and fair elections, improving local governance, and enhancing accountability in public institutions. With the Donald Trump administration sounding war drums on the shutdown of the operations of USAID worldwide, opinions have varied, with some expressing little surprise at the turn of events. The cut in the funding will affect the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, which provides vital HIV prevention, care, and treatment services. A decrease in development assistance could severely disrupt vital initiatives, which are essential in addressing Ghana's public health challenges. PEPFAR, which operates largely through USAID, provides antiretroviral treatment to thousands of Ghanaians living with HIV/AIDS. If these funds disappear, countless people could lose access to essential health care, reversing years of progress in disease control. USAID has been a lifeline in fighting malaria, improving medical health, and funding life-saving vaccines. Mr. Speaker, permit me to say again that USAID shutdown would likely have a negative impact on Ghana's economy, potentially leading to decreased investment in critical infrastructure and many more, not to leave out the many NGOs that rely on USAID for support. In view of this, I call on all stakeholders, including us, members of Parliament, as leaders, to take a critical look at this issue. Mr. Speaker, in Nigeria, in response to this directive from the government of the US, the Nigerian government, through the Federal Executive Council, approved 1.7 billion for healthcare reforms and 4.8 billion for HIV treatment. Like the Nigerian government response, other African nations should seize this moment to look inward and begin the journey toward self-sufficiency in critical sectors. Mr. Speaker, during the commissioning of the National Vaccine Institute in Ghana by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the former President of the Republic of Ghana, on Wednesday, 10th May 2023, he highlighted his government's determination to ensure that Ghana is never again a victim or pawn of the international vaccine order. The National Vaccine Institute is thus expected to operationalize government's vision of securing the much-needed vaccines through domestic vaccine development and manufacturing in short, medium, and long-term phases. The Institute was given a seed money to coordinate and facilitate the capacity of domestic pharmaceutical companies to fill, finish, and package mRNA, COVID-19, malaria, and tuberculosis vaccines. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo went on to explain that vaccine nationalism played out by the developed world during the COVID-19 pandemic was a wake-up call for Ghana to take its own destiny, that this will spring up again in the foreseeable future. Thanks to the former president for this foresight. Mr. Speaker, while Ghana and Africa, still has a long way to go, timely and decisive leadership could set the continent on the right path, reducing years of overdependence on the US and other foreign donors. Mr. Speaker, it has always been said by renowned scholars and leadership consultants that no country can build a sustainable future by relying solely on foreign aid. Ghana must take proactive steps to secure its progress and reduce its dependence on external support. One critical step is domestic resource mobilization. The government must strengthen tax collection, close loopholes, and reduce losses to ensure that essential programs such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure are funded from within. Additionally, public-private partnership must be expanded, encouraging businesses to invest in key sectors like healthcare and education will ease the burden on government spending. When the private sector is engaged, development becomes more sustainable. Beyond this, Ghana must diversify its partnership. Finally, Mr. Speaker, While the U.S. has been a key ally, it is essential to engage strategically with other players like the European Union, the African Development Bank, and emerging global economies. This will ensure continuous support whilst reducing dependency on any single donor. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. The good people of New Jabbernoff are grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I will open the floor and take comment subject to Order 93.5. Honorable Deputy Majority Whip.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on the statements made by our colleagues. Mr. Speaker, this is more of a research paper, and I think after commenting on it, we need to archive it and publish it, because the first one is coming from the just past a former finance minister. And he has done extensive work. He has researched into it. If you read the document, it's very insightful and very educative. Likewise, my colleague who just finished reading his statement. So, Mr. Speaker, the issues raised by the former finance minister, he himself has also provided an antidote to deal with the matter, which tells you that at least he knows the challenges ahead of us, and he has provided some information. If we take all those issues on board, we can address these very issues. But, Mr. Speaker, I must say that history is repeating itself. COVID-19 exposed our medical system in this country. We said among each other, let's invest so much into our health facilities. And even there was a mantra, Ghana beyond aid. Let's look within. Let's develop our own nation. Let's develop our own economy, so that there will not be even an attractive venture for our youth to travel outside the country to seek for greener pasture. Because if you read the statement, he's talking about deportations. So if we're able to develop our own nation, and our youth will just travel for fun, for holidays, as tourists, there's no motivation for somebody to go overstay abroad to talk about even deportation. But no matter what, you can find one or two in that instance. So what are we doing to ourselves? We talk about import substitutions. Locally, what are we providing? What are we producing? The question is, are we also consuming what they are producing? We behave as if we don't care what is happening around us. Yesterday, there was Mr. Speaker's breakfast prayer meeting, and he made mention of everybody is patronizing perfume rice.
Honourable member, remember you are speaking within 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, this statement... Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I think this sanction or the withdrawal of USAID support has come at the right time, because the finance minister is about presenting his budget to the House. Yesterday, the president issued a statement calling on the finance minister to provide a funding gap to deal with this situation. So this will feed into our budgeting. It will feed in our plans. So we need to be disciplined. Let's cut the waste. Like His Excellency Jordan Mama said, unnecessary travels, first class. You can go with the business class, so that we can make some savings. Mr. Speaker, so if we are not disciplined, if we are not able to cut expenditure, because in the statement, he talked about revenue mobilization. How do you raise enough revenue and increase your expenditure.
Honourable Member, conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I will conclude by saying, just a few months ago, our colleagues were attacking us to approve about $300 million tax exemptions. So if you raise revenue, on the other hand, you give freebies to other people, how do you get enough revenue to deal with such a situation? So we need to be disciplined. I'm talking about fiscal discipline, so that by the end of the day, we get enough revenue in the kitty to deal with such unforeseen shocks, unforeseen contingencies. We cannot be speaking to matters like this and go to sleep. We need to put in place measures to address them. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. Honourable Patrick Yaboma, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. 5 minutes. Mr. Speaker, let me put on record that nobody travels first class in this chamber. So when you are speaking, you are sending messages out there for them to attack you again. Because apart from Emirates Airlines, no aircraft or airline has first-class services in Ghana. Actually, you have to be very careful, Honorable Achampo. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to mention 5 things that will affect some of President Trump's executive orders and its effects on Ghana and Africa as a whole. One is the suspension of foreign assistance, this foreign assistance program, which the president, I believe, promptly directed the finance minister to look for the funding gap for the 156 million USD that the US aid was providing to Ghana. That's, my calculation here is about 2.4 billion Ghana cedis. So, Speaker, is going to be a challenge. Secondly is the external revenue service. There's going to be some tax calculation distortions that will hit Africa because of remittances and other issues that will come our way, Mr. Speaker. Thirdly is a withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. Mr. Speaker, United States alone contributes 14% of the world's carbon emissions after China. And it's an issue that we must look at critically, especially where we've created supporting, the Ministry of Energy is now supported by, it's known as the Ministry for Energy and Green Transition, or Energy Transition, Mr. Speaker, where we are seeking to trade in carbon under that program within the Paris Agreement. Mr. Speaker, fourthly is the withdrawal of the United States support from the World Health Organization, which is going to affect Africa and Ghana. The U.S. contributes $1.24 billion to the World Health Organization, and those programs are partly funded or has far-reaching implications on our health delivery system, Mr. Speaker. Last but not the least, Mr. Speaker, is the National Energy Emergency Program. The U.S. is now going to explore more oil and gas, and that will, in effect, drive down the prices of oil and gas globally. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is a net importer of petroleum products, finished products. We produce only 120,000 barrels of crude oil a day. That is chicken change compared to the over 1.4 million barrels that the Nigerians produce. So if the little that we are producing, U.S. is going to increase their production levels and it will drive down prices, we are not going to gain the kind of money or revenues that we are seeking to derive from. And that will also create a funding gap in our budget. So we expect to hear some of these interventions from the minister's budget come the end of March, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, our colleague spoke about 1D, 1F programs and the fact that we must look into import substitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a call in the right direction. This House did not approve the tax incentives for the 1D, 1F programs. We're seeking a total of about 100 million USD, not 300. My colleague was a member of the Finance Committee, which I chaired. We did not ask for 300. We drove down the prices, took out raw materials, and only focused on equipment, Mr. Speaker. All in all, Mr. Trump and his administration is telling us something that we must take on board, that we must generate revenues within our borders, grow our local industries, create the jobs that are supposed to be created by the private sector. Government cannot absorb all the unemployment that we unemployment levels that we see on our streets, Mr. Speaker. We must be creative in our ways and ensure that this country does better than we are seeing today. I thank you very much for the opportunity.
It's now the turn of Haji Aladi Ayamba, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me first of all congratulate the makers of the statements, and I wish to start with the issue of the deportations, which is of much interest and very important, because we do not even know what would be happening to our colleagues, our brothers, our sisters who would be caught up in the US. It's most unfortunate, Mr. Speaker, that this policy has come to hit. It might not be only Ghana, and I know for sure it wouldn't be only Ghana, but we are bothered about our own country. I am so happy to have heard from the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Ablakwa, who has come out to say that from the records in the ministry, there are 150 persons who are currently supposed to be deported. And he has also made it clear that they should report to the various offices where they would get some kind of support to enable them come. Thank God, Mr. Speaker, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has introduced and has already spoken about the 24-hour economy. Let us embrace what we have. Let us embrace what we have. No matter how many we are, no matter how little we have, most people go out and they go and do menial jobs. If you are in your own country and you decide, or the country comes together, unites, and works towards development, and most of the youth are employed, I don't think that there's anybody who would wish to go and be in that cold, running here and there, working, and not even, some of them doing works that even they have never dreamt of. My prayer is that they should come home safely. The greatest problem I have is those who might not even hear this. They might not even know, and some of them would fear. So I want to urge the Minister for Foreign Affairs to let the message go down well, that anybody, even if that person thinks he or she is not part of the 150 persons that are already registered, the person should report. After all, that person is a Ghanaian. We should appreciate our own country, and I think that that policy is a wake-up call to us. It is a wake-up call to us. We shouldn't think that people have worked somewhere, it is rosy, and we are running there to go and benefit. Like someone said somewhere, that look, if they bring that category, those same category of people from America, let's take it so, or the developed countries, for instance, into Ghana, and give them 2 years, they will change Ghana to be better and to be like their own country, America, for which we are running to. And if we are sent there, because we are not ready to work and to take up issues by ourselves and ensure that what we grow is what we eat, what we grow is what we wear, what we have is what we must appreciate, and that we must be ready to live within our means, we will still turn those countries to places that nobody would want, and we will still be running back to our old countries where they have taken and made better. So, Mr. Speaker, I am happy that the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Honorable Ablakwa, is up and doing. The issue of USAID, with all the medications and what have you, yes, it will affect us. But what have we been thinking? What have we been doing? We need to work harder. We need to appreciate ourselves. Let us work together. The region must be integrated. African countries must come together and ensure that we are each other's keeper. If we are each other's keeper, Mr. Speaker, I believe that we should be able to get all the drugs that we think we need. And also, Mr. Speaker, last but not the least, before I take my seat, let us appreciate our local persons who provide certain medications. Let us make sure we work on them so that they will be able to support us with some locally produced medications which really help. And I'm sure it will go a long way. So as for me, I don't blame Trump for what he has done. He has only woken us from sleep. Let us wake up from the slumber, let us work, and let us keep together. And inshallah, we shall be well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. I will give the floor to Honorable Ntim Fojo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to comment on the two statements that are on the floor and to commend the makers of the statement, the Honorable Mohammed Amin Adam, member for Karga, and the Honorable Nana Oseje, member for New Jabe North, for bringing to the fore Trump's policy implications on Ghana and the shutdown of USAID and its potential impact on Ghana, respectively. Mr. Speaker, since the establishment of USAID by President John F. Kennedy in 1961, the agency, in my view, has served its mandate truly and fulfilled their mandate of assisting humanitarian interventions across health, education, and many sectors, particularly agriculture, in many countries. If it has come to a point where a new president deems fit to take the country on a new direction in their national interest, it is important that we in Ghana also reposition the fundamentals of our economic decisions to be able to be resilient to absorb the potential shocks that these decisions will have on us. Experts have predicted, and rightly so, the makers of the statement have also corroborated, millions of Ghanaians that are going to be impacted adversely by these decisions by the President of the United States, particularly across the sectors of agri, education, and health. This year alone, as the figures have been indicated, Ghana requested, in partnership with USAID's intervention, a total of $137.7 million. And out of this, $16 million relates to education. It is important that recognizing the critical roles that the partnerships Ghana had underway with USAID relating to sustainable agriculture, supporting farmers to improve their yields in health sector, very important critical programs on HIV prevention and ensuring that some key diseases are fought and treated, and in particular in education, having traversed from transition to English Plus to now the stages, the G2G agreement. It is expected that the first budget of President Mahama in 2025 should be responsive and should be robust enough to be nuanced to respond to the shortfalls that stare us in the face, the shortfalls that need to be addressed. We are expecting that to find expression in the budget that is to come. Particularly on health, in the year 2015, one early grade reading assessment indicated that in P2 learners across the country, only 2% of them could read at grade level. It took the intervention of the partnership between Ministry of Education and USAID's transition to English Plus, which was part of their learning activity, to ensure that phonics-based approaches and interventions were deployed across the country in very key schools. Teachers were trained in those phonics-based approaches, teaching and learning materials were produced, and by those interventions, supporting other interventions of the ministry and GES, we're able to drive that, improve upon reading abilities of our learners. And by the year 2023, when the National Standardized Test was conducted, we saw an improvement from 2% of pupils at P2 reading in 2015 to 38%. And that was a significant improvement. That program was touted globally as the best reading program. Now, we graduated from there, and in September, my boss here, the Honorable Minister for Education, former, and now Member of Parliament for Bosomtwe, Honorable Dr. Asaduchum, launched in conjunction with USAID the G2G level partnership agreement, which is stages, strengthening accountabilities in Ghana education system. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, all these are very important, but it shows that we as a government at this point, without having control over the decisions of other countries, particularly very key development partners, must take steps to prioritize funding to these critical education interventions to ensure the seamless implementation, to augment on the gains, to ensure that the decisions taken by President Trump do not halt our gains that we've made. Lastly, on deportation, the official numbers that have been put up by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs stand at 156 potential Ghanaians that face deportation. But however, the numbers, they may be more
your
or
time
less.
is up.
Yes, it is important that they are assisted with consular services to be deported in dignity, not in chains. They are already facing traumatizing experiences, having been separated from their families with no hope of ever seeing them again. This is the time we call on Ministry of Foreign Affairs
take the floor
to ensure that they safely return our people.
You have the floor.
And I thank you with these few words, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And I can only make a very brief contribution to the statements that have been made, but I'll focus on the one that was ably done and so deeply researched by the former Minister for Finance. I really enjoyed that work, and I actually focused on the areas that he ended his note on and mentioned that there needs to be some level of deep focus on social interventions, and I heard clearly the mention of education. I want to associate myself deeply with that comment and state that all the interventions that we need to move this country forward and expand our economy are linked to one important ingredient, which I call technical vocational education and training. And I'm happy that my seniors, both Dr. Reverend Ntim Fojo and former Minister for Education are here, and I believe they would really associate themselves with my mention of TVET. I say so because it is a known factor, it is a known fact that education is key to development, but the master key to development is TVET. And if this country would expand all that we need to be able to grow this economy, I believe that skills development is critical. All the industries that we need, they need to have a high level of skills to be able to uptake the technology, various technologies that will expand our economy. And if this will develop, this has to do with how we're able to pump some money, finance our TVET education in Ghana. This is a very good and pragmatic way of improving upon our export development. And that is why the mention, one key policy that has found great expression in the NDC manifesto, which is being implemented now, the 24-hour economy policy, the mention of the 24-hour economy, the export development drive, the improvement, improvement in apprenticeship, monetization of same. These are critical ingredients that I believe that if we pursue this and put some more funding in these, that they do not suffer, this country would improve economically. This country would have the necessary impetus to export and get the necessary foreign exchange that will drive the economy. I thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Speaker.
Now, leadership. Leadership.
Mr. Speaker, I'm yielding to Honorable.
Honorable, you have the floor. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I will also want to join the maker, other colleagues, to thank the maker of the statement for such a thorough statement, well-researched by the Honourable Member for Karga, ably supported by also the Honourable Member for Akwapum, New Joabin, South, North. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I would focus on the gap and the implication of that gap on government fiscals. Mr. Speaker, the Speaker has stated clearly, the maker of the statement has stated clearly that this decision by the United States government, President Donald Trump, to cut funding globally, 98% of USAID funding to developing countries has come with its own implication. And in Ghana, annually, we are going to have a shortfall of funding of about 150 million United States dollars. Mr. Speaker, let me put this in context. The Honourable Member for Okakwe Central posited that we are going to have a shortfall of about 2 billion Ghana cedi. This is equivalent. In fact, it is falling short of the amount we earn from e-levy. In other words, government will need a revenue handle like the e-levy or similar method or similar handle to replace the funding gap. Mr. Speaker, the 2 billion shortfall will have to come on the back of the fact that government is already doing away with several revenue handles. And many youth programs, government programs, for instance, the Youth Empowerment Program by the USAID is going to be cancelled. Agriculture program, like the support program for farmers in the north, is going to be cancelled. Educational programs, such as the Teaching and Learning Material, TLM Plus, by the United States government, is going to be cancelled. This is the implication of the action by Donald Trump. And this, we must note that, is coming to bite the Ghanaian economy. We are going to face the reeling effect of that action. Mr. Speaker, what can be done to ameliorate this situation? The maker of the statement ably, competently, and brilliantly submitted the proposed solutions. And I will go with one of the measures he mentioned, multilateralism. Mr. Speaker, the maker of the statement has actually highlighted the fact that we can still have relations with our development or multilateral partners, such as the African Development Bank and the World Bank. Once we get this relationship ongoing, they can come in to fill in the 150 million funding gap that is being created due to the United States government policy decision to stop funding to developing countries. Mr. Speaker, last but not the least, is the government's own measures to rake
Honorable Achampo, are you on point of order?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
What order?
Order 125 of our standing orders.
125 or 122?
125. Anticipation. Mr. Speaker, our rules are very clear.
Very well.
The honourable member is contributing to a statement, and we know making a comment should not provoke further debates. And he's anticipating that we'll cancel education this, we'll cancel health this. Please. Honourable member, the government of the day is going to present its budget by the end of the first week in March. Let's wait. If even the USAID is cancelled or withdrawing its support, let's see what is in that budget. The kind of provision this government is going to provide in the budget. So they can withdraw their support to us. We are not going to cancel any. You are throwing fear and panic to the public. Our rules are clear. They can cancel their programs. They can withdraw their funding. We will make enough provision to deal with those issues. So Order 125 is clear. Don't anticipate anything which has not been brought before this House. We can do this House at this House. The budgets has not been presented. We don't know the kind of interventions this government is going to provide. By 27, there will be a State of the Nation address. So you'll be comforted, my brother.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member, be guided. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, just safe to say that wasn't what I said. The honorable member did not get the import of my point, and I'm saying that he could have come on point to seek clarification to what I stated, and for the sake of the record, I stated that due to President Trump's decision to stop funding, there are ongoing projects by the United States aid, U.S. aid, and those include TLM Plus, teaching and learning material support to schools. My last check shows that there are over 48 districts that the United States U.S. aid is present. Those activities will be canceled because the funding method by the United States government is not going to come. So they are stopping their funding, they are canceling these programs with the government of Ghana. And that is a statement of fact. It is not anticipating anything. Mr. Speaker, so Order 125 is mute. It doesn't apply in this case. And thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was concluding. Let me conclude by saying that we will need to look at how we can generate, and I would support government any move, to the extent that it is consistent with the government plan and manifesto, to be able to fill in the funding gap. Because the good people of the North benefit greatly from the United States aid. For instance, the drought support program supports us a lot, especially so when we are engaged in dry season fire or when we are hard hit by drought. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the maker of this statement and to state that government must have to come with a concrete and cogent action plan to fill in the gap and to support the development of the country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leadership.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to add my voice in thanking the former finance minister and my brother, the MP for New Jabin North, I believe. Mr. Speaker, I don't think what is happening in the United States should come as any surprise to anyone. We have always known that Trump is an inward-looking president. Donald Trump is anti-globalization president. And we just have sat down and done nothing for a very long time, expecting that the result will be the same. The situation we are in now, and I don't even know why there is a finance minister here. The funding, the donor funding that comes into your budget is very small. It's not much. So I don't know why we're even making, we actually have to find 150 million. And I believe that the finance minister will find it. That is not the problem. The problem is the impact that Trump's policies will have on us. Some are primary effects, some are secondary. Honorable Patrick Boama talked about oil production. That will be it will have a primary impact on us because global prices of oil will go down and therefore we will not be able to get much revenue from the little oil, 120 barrels a day or so, that 1,000 barrels a day that we export. But also, this is a tremendous opportunity for us as a country Yes, we are not going to, whatever happens in terms of the tariffs or the Paris Agreement or withdrawal of NATO or whatever Trump chooses to do, it's not going to affect us directly, but it will have a secondary impact on us. The remittances, it's not going to be much. I mean, so far we've talked about 150 people being brought back home. That is not going to change, the numbers in terms of the remittances that we get into that country very much. But what is actually going to have impact on us is to do with trade. And at the moment, there's something happening that we need to wake up to. As Honorable Ladi said, this is actually a wake-up call for us, because a lot of the money that comes into this country, there's 150 million that comes into the budget, and the other ones that goes to various departments and agencies that the Ministry of Finance most of the time don't even know about it. That turns out to be what they call internally generated fund. A lot of these monies are actually being misused. They are not used effectively. And some of the people crying as a result of these free monies, they call it, that comes in and get misused. What we should wake up to now is that because of the tariffs that especially Asian countries, China, are going to be paying, they are beginning to move their productions from Asia, from China, into other countries, especially Africa. A lot of African countries, Rwanda, are benefiting from this. We are here. The headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade sits here, and we are doing very little. So a lot of these companies are moving they are basically moving their machines from China and other places to relocate themselves to places where they will pay much lower tariffs. In Africa, we have various agreements with the United States to be able to send things there on low tariffs. A lot of cotton garment businesses are moving. If you go to East Africa at the moment, a lot of garment companies are moving from China to relocate to Rwanda and other places because of the low tariffs on things like AGOA and things that people are able to send. These are the things we need to look at. And I know you don't like to hear 24-hour economy, but 24-hour economy, 24-hour economy is going to be a vehicle. If Ghana, if this government target some of these companies that are relocating to Africa and encourage them with tax incentives and other incentives, some of them, the raw materials are here. That's why they are relocating. So if we can provide the raw materials, we can give them cheap labor, we can provide sufficient energy and efficient energy, and we can do all the things that will enable these companies to set up here, we can industrialize, or we will become the serious manufacturing economy that we should be. To be able to take advantage. So we should not just be crying of what is going to happen to us because we won't get $150 million to waste, or we won't get monies going into various departments and agencies, but we should look at the opportunities that this creates. As I said, Trump gave us a signal that Donald Trump is not a president that looks at things globally. He's an inward-looking president. You keep hearing, America first, America first. And now Ghana is crying that Ghana is last. The man has told us already. So, Mr. Speaker, this is an opportunity for us as a wake-up call to look at things differently and inwardly.
And
as the President said, that he has charged the finance minister to find this gap, the 150 million or so that we need to find is not a big deal. The finance minister knows that the donor money that comes into our budget is infinitesimal, is very small, and should not shake anyone up. But it's a wake-up call for us to find ways of building our own economy. 8 years ago, we were told that Ghana beyond aid. And today, Ghana still hasn't gone beyond aid. Those are the things we need to wake up to and try and address them. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, it's now 26 minutes after 6. Having regard to Standing Order 56-2, I proceed to adjourn the House till Thursday, 13 February 2025 at 12 noon.
On sre dan we muna nenim sa